Okay, so this is a quick, in-depth review on our Lifelong Vitality Pack and the 3 amazing supplements, the trio. And Ben is going to walk us through what his experience and knowledge has been, as he's got a lot of information that we're craving to hear from him. So thank you for hosting this with me and sharing your knowledge with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. So this is the things that I generally teach about Lifelong Vitality Pack as a whole. I don't break it down into the individual bottles so much, mostly because they're meant to be taken as a whole. But the main point of it all for me is just getting the nutrition that our bodies are designed to thrive on. So a few years ago, I came across this article, and I can't remember if it was the Washington Post or the New York Times, but in the article they were discussing how, as a society, we have bred the nutrition out of our food. So we bred our food for taste, aesthetics, and agricultural yield, and in the process, we left the nutrition behind. And they said, as a result, everyone is deficient on the nutrition that they should be getting. All the experts agree that, all the doctors and scientists and everybody agree that everyone is deficient on the nutrition that we're supposed to be getting. And they said, so as a result, everyone should be on some kind of supplement to deal with the deficiency in the diet. They said even folks who are eating, they say, well, I only eat fruits and vegetables and non-processed foods and things like that, are even they are deficient in the nutrition that they should be getting. So then they said the problem is when you try to figure out what supplement to be on, because most supplements on the market go right through us without being absorbed and into the toilet. And that's if they are actually the supplements or vitamins that they claim to be, and not sawdust or something like that. Like you heard of the GNC scandal a couple of years ago, where they were selling sawdust and passing it off as vitamins and stuff. Yeah, pretty outrageous.
No, I didn't actually hear that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, look that one up. It'll make you mad.
Yeah.
So part of the reason that so many of these supplements go right through us without being absorbed is that our bodies are not designed to absorb straight vitamins. They're designed to absorb food with vitamins in them. One of my friends works at the wastewater treatment plant, and he says that supplements are the biggest problem because they go right through people without being absorbed and into the toilet. And then they clog up their filtration systems and cause damage. So really, when you're getting those Costco vitamins and things like that, you're just throwing your money in the toilet. Very little absorption. So going back to that idea of our bodies being designed to absorb food with vitamins in them, what doTERRA did to overcome this problem is they feed their vitamins to a yeast. The yeast produces a byproduct, which is a protein, and the protein has 100% of the vitamins in it. And so our bodies absorb protein very easily. So suddenly, folks are getting like 100% absorption of these vitamins and minerals and nutrition that they've been missing for such a long time. And the results that they're getting are pretty dramatic. We constantly get people coming back to us saying, I have never before taken a vitamin or a supplement and felt a difference. I just took them because the doctor said I was supposed to, and it was supposed to be good for me, but I never felt anything. So now the reports that we're getting back are increased energy with less sleep, pain, chronic pain, and infrequent pain are either reduced or eliminated. Moods are balanced. Tests are coming back showing that the blood pressure is balanced. The bad cholesterol goes down. The good cholesterol goes up. All of these are in the tests and things that they're able to study. Now, the first two of those are pretty easy for me to relate to. Everybody wants more energy and less pain. The third one didn't really connect to me very deeply because I'm kind of a happy person most of the time. So balanced mood was like, okay, whatever. Just didn't really impress me. It didn't make that much of an impression on me. I think it's about 4 years ago, you remember Robin Williams committed suicide 4 or 5 years ago. A few months after that, my cousin committed suicide. Well, when that happens, the whole family kind of stops what they're doing, reevaluates life, takes stock of what's happening around them. And what I noticed while I was going through that grieving process is that a lot of friends and family on Facebook, Jaira, you need to close the door and go on out, sweetheart, thank you. A lot of friends and family on Facebook were dealing with depression, struggling with it. And some people, they hide it really well, and other people don't even bother to try to hide it. So I started to do some research, and I found that the World Health Organization says that on a global scale, depression is at epidemic levels. And in the US, over 25% of the population reports depression annually. And that's just the people who report it. So there's a lot more who don't. That's 1 in 4 people plus. And some people, you know, they seem to think that that's kind of a natural thing, like everybody goes through it, it's just my time and I'll get over it eventually. But 1 in 4, that's pretty extreme. And it's not the way that we were meant to live. I found another study done in the UK at a university, and the results from that study are in the book Essentially Happy. And in the study, they had 21 patients suffering from depression. They made sure they were on no form of medication, and they started them on doTERRA's Lifelong Vitality Pack. By week 3, every one of the patients had reported improvement in every category related to depression. And with each successive week, yeah, exactly, that's right, Carrie. It's pretty incredible. With each successive week, they continued to improve. Depression is something that's really near and dear to my wife and my heart, because we've had so many. One of my friends attempted suicide. In the last couple of years, we've helped him to get on the Lifelong Vitality Pack, and he said he's doing about 1,000 times better. It's been very present in our friends and family, depression and suicide both. And so it kind of is something that's a little bit frustrating to Jane and I, because it's something that we believe is 100% preventable, because every time we correct the nutrition, the depression begins to correct as well. And so if there was more knowledge on that subject, I think that we would have far less problem with it in our society. My friend Paul, he has had 3 heart attacks and 5 stents put in, and he is now off of all of his prescription medication with the blessing of his doctor. Now, usually when a doctor puts you on something for your heart, they say you're going to be on this for the rest of your life, so don't try to get off it. With Paul, he said, your tests keep on coming back better. We're going to start to taper you off of these medications slowly. Just keep doing what you're doing. And this was really big for Paul, because the doctor had been telling him, if you don't get off the couch and start moving, you're going to have another heart attack. And this time you're going to die. And Paul said, you got me on so many medications. It's causing me so much pain, I can't get off the couch. So now he's off the medication. The pain is gone. He's lost 40 pounds. He's bought a bicycle. He's playing with his grandkids. It's like a huge transformation in his life. It's really incredible to be a part of that process with people, even the tiny part that we get to play. Yes, Ashley?
Did the doctor know that he was taking the LLV before he was given the blessing to get off the medication? Was he included in that, or did he kind of do it behind the back and then watch the positive results?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he was working closely with his doctor, and we always recommend you work closely with your doctor. But if your doctor says no on something like if he says no, don't take the Lifelong Vitality Pack, you are.
You advocate always, for yourself.
Yeah. Well, yes, for yourself, yes, absolutely. But also, it's always wise to get multiple doctors' opinions on a subject. So we always recommend you don't quit medications cold turkey. You work with your doctor to come off of them, and this is a partnership. They are part of our process, and they're a valuable part, especially if you can find a doctor who is open to allowing your body to return to the way it's designed to work.
Yes.
So let's see. Paul, he's doing much better now. The Lifelong Vitality Pack, let's see. What if you just take the ingredient list of the Lifelong Vitality Pack, and you take one of the ingredients and you look it up online, you will find that it is superior to most of the other ingredients out there. For instance, the zinc that they use in the Lifelong Vitality Pack is a form of zinc that is 40% more absorbable than most zinc on the market in supplements. So we can't say enough good about the Lifelong Vitality Pack. I just told you of a couple of different things that it can teach, but basically the idea is, like I said earlier, when we give the body the nutrition that it was designed to thrive on, it will often heal itself from problems that we thought we would deal with for the rest of our life. And then when we add the oils on top of that, it's like now the body is strong enough to make the most efficient use of the oils. I personally struggle with, well, I used to struggle with ulcerative colitis. I haven't had to deal with it in about 9 years now. There have been a couple of times it has tried to flare up, and we have immediately dealt with it with oils. And when I first realized that the ulcerative colitis was starting to go away, I was in the middle of a flare-up. I started to use the aroma touch technique, which is 8 oils along the spine in a specific pattern. And that day I was in the bathroom 20 times a day, a lot of pain. The next day, it was 7 times in the bathroom with no pain. And then the next day was 1, and the whole thing lasted about a week instead of 3 months, which it used to be. Now, I believed at that time that the aroma touch technique was responsible for that result. I found later through working with other clients and friends that it was actually the cleanse and the Lifelong Vitality Pack that was responsible for that result. The oils helped to balance me when a flare-up tried to occur. Because of my own bad habits, too much coffee and things like that. Sometimes when I drink too much coffee, it'll try to flare up again. There you go, Carrie. But what I discovered was I had friends who I was trying to help with get the same results with the aroma touch technique that I had received. And we did it every day for them for 7 days, and they did not have the same result. And remember, the aroma touch technique is designed to bring the body back into homeostasis. So since they weren't getting that result, I had to look back over what I had done and see if there was anything different. And what I realized is that before we had that flare-up that I was able to overcome with the aroma touch technique, I had been cleansing and using the Lifelong Vitality Pack for a period of about at least a year. And so getting that nutrition that my body is designed to thrive on allowed my body to use that nutrition as building blocks to heal the problem, the core problems that were causing it. And you can't say enough about the digestive system as a core operating system in the body. If the digestive system is out of whack, it affects every aspect of the body, because the nutrition is the starting point of every process in the body. So much more we could talk about on that, on cleansing and things. But that's basically what I have, what I teach about the Lifelong Vitality Pack. You guys have any questions?
I'm trying to unmute, but there's like a thingy over me. I'm hitting the space bar. Hang on. I can unmute now. There it goes. I had a couple about with cost comparisons. When you get those types of questions and you want to try to showcase, like you were talking about the zinc and just the type of the vitamins, and then of course the yeast and the protein and all that, that's all like new to me for being able to explain things. But when it comes down to the cost comparison, how, what type of information or things do you provide to be able to show them the value and that they can wipe out everything that they're buying from the super supplement store or even getting from their naturopath at times.
Yeah.
And replace it with these three things.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll go through the ingredient list and show the comparisons and stuff and show the percentages. We talk about how they have done studies. There's so much to unpack there in that question. They've done studies on the long-term effects of the super doses of particular vitamins, like vitamin E, for instance. And it turns out that having super doses of them have a negative effect, just as having not enough of that vitamin. And so they've done these studies. So what doTERRA has done is they have formulated the Lifelong Vitality Pack to be what you would expect to get in a natural diet if our growing practices hadn't eliminated so much of the nutrition out of the food that we're eating. So they've formulated the supplements to be what we should be getting on a daily basis rather than a super dose. And so if you do a daily, what you should be getting comparison on a cost basis of each ingredient. I had one friend, I don't know if you've met her yet, but Betty Torres-Forboard, she's one of our uplines. She's really incredible. She did a cost comparison, and this was way back when she first started, and it turned out that she replaced $1,300 worth of vitamins per month with the Lifelong Vitality Pack.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of other comparisons, and they vary. It really depends on what vitamins and supplements you are using, what you're leaving out. But yeah, it's really beneficial. But you can tell them, you can show them how it's 40% more absorbable, the zinc and things like this, but there's really no teacher-like experience. And so one of the best things that doTERRA has done is to have a money-back guarantee. Use it for 30 days. You will see the difference. You will feel the difference.
Right. Okay. That's good too. Do you have links to, are all the studies available on the doTERRA.com website? I've pulled up a bunch of them and I've kind of saved them, but are there additional ones that aren't on the doTERRA.com from any of the clinical studies that they've done?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard studies in passing at various presentations from scientists and stuff over the years. There was one at convention probably 7 years ago where they talked about the Z omega and how there was a study, and I think it was in the New England Journal of Medicine. I'm not positive, but they said, and so as far as links go, no, I keep a lot of stuff just right up here. I'll hear somebody's presentation and I'll take something that I really loved out of it. I'll go, oh, I like that. And I'll put it into my own presentations. And so with some effort, I can usually track down the study. But I rarely get somebody challenging me on it. And that's really, it's funny, usually when I'm on the East Coast is when I get people challenging me on it. They have an interesting culture over there. But anyways, this study in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Kansas City.
What's that, Ashley?
I said, or Kansas City.
Is that where you're from?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was teaching some classes over there 4 years ago. Can't remember the name of the lady I was staying with. But anyways, the New England Journal of Medicine, they had two groups of pigs. One group, they fed nothing but donuts for 8 months. And by the end of 8 months, their arteries were almost completely clogged. The other group, they fed nothing but donuts for 8 months, but their donuts were infused with omega-3 fatty acids. And by the end of 8 months, their arteries...
I have that article.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
It's such a cool one. By the end of 8 months, their arteries were almost completely clear. And so they found that not only are omega-3s vital for brain function, everybody knows that, right? Omega-3s are brain food. But they reduce the risk of coronary heart disease, which might be part of why my friend Paul was able to get off of his heart medication.
That's awesome.
Exactly why.
So what you're saying is we can eat donuts.
I heard donuts. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we know you love your donuts.
Actually, what's your background? Why do you have that study? Is it because you love research, or are you in the medical field?
I'm technically a nurse and I'm a research guru, so I look up everything.
She also lives in the show me state, and in the Midwest, almost everyone has, they want her to prove it to them before they even try it. So she's been practicing arming herself with information to be able to just kind of lovingly be combative right back. So when they're like, oh well, I've tried this, it won't work for me, and she'll be like, "Wachow!" So
Exactly.
So omega-3, they're showing a cholesterol being lowered, I guess, basically.
Yes.
What was that, Josh?
Is it cholesterol that's being lowered because of those omega-3s?
Yeah, in the pigs, yes, that was the situation. However, in the Lifelong Vitality Pack, there are also 9 essential oils that are incredible for heart health, among other things. Oils are so cool the way one oil is used for so many different things. So we use an oil for heart health, and then we get brain health too, and all these other things. So in the studies, they're showing that the bad cholesterol is going down, yes, but the good cholesterol is also going up. And, cholesterol gets a bad rap because it's something that's vital for our function. There was much more in the studies, in the tests that they were showing. Those are just the things that stood out to me. But the blood pressure is balanced and the cholesterol was affected. Those are the 3 things that I noticed the most.
Mm-hmm.
Which is technically supported, because when you have cholesterol issues, they recommend eating or increasing your fish intake, your salmon.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of goes along with that study.
Yeah. What was I thinking? Oh, it's gone, whatever it was. That's what 6 kids will do to you.
Right. Shelly, Shelly or Deb, did you guys have any LLV questions?
Yeah, kind of an absorption question. So you mentioned it has about a 40% more absorption rate. Where at in the body does it actually start absorbing?
That is a good question. I'm not sure the answer to that. And that 40% absorption is actually just for the zinc. The absorption overall is basically 100% more. And they don't have a hard and fast statistic on that. That's just saying about what the delivery system is to the body allows it to be absorbed by the body, because the body recognizes it as nutrition. If you take a hard packed vitamin like vitamin C or something like that, and you swallow it, and it's one of those horse pill type of things, those white ones that taste nasty, that you don't chew, the body does not recognize that as nutrition. It's thought of, it sees it as like a rock, and it just passes through the digestive system with very little to no absorption. And so that's where I don't know if you would call it technology or what, but where they feed the supplements, the nutrition to a yeast, the vitamins to a yeast, and the yeast produces the byproduct, which is the protein, and then the body recognizes protein as nutrition. And then so that's why the vitamins and everything in it are absorbed so easily. That zinc, the 40% more absorption, is just one of the ingredients. If you look at the ingredient list and you look at what they're using for zinc, and you just Google that, you'll find studies popping up about that form of zinc is 40% more absorbable. If you study astaxanthin, astaxanthin is one of the ingredients in the Lifelong Vitality Pack that is just incredible. It is an antioxidant, but it is one of the few antioxidants in the world. There may be 5, if I recall correctly, that will actually cross the blood-brain barrier. And so it has dramatic impact on brain function and things like that. if you do a side-by-side comparison of astaxanthin with other antioxidants in the world, it outperforms nearly every other antioxidant in nearly every category.
Interesting. How long would you say it takes the body to regulate, like once someone starts taking this and say they don't feel very good at first because their body is trying to get used to everything, about how long does that usually take to kind of run its course?
That's a good question. It's actually one of my favorite questions. It varies from person to person, obviously, depending on the severity of the person's condition and stuff like that, the length of time that they have been without, how much toxins they have, whether they are doing a cleanse as well. Usually what we recommend is using the Lifelong Vitality Pack for a month to get the body the nutrition that it needs in order to be strong and healthy before you start a cleanse, and then doing a cleanse and then Lifelong Vitality Pack after. But on average, it's really interesting that women tend to notice the difference far before men do. So with women, on average, it's typically about a week where they notice it. With men, it's usually more like 3 weeks. Often we have people who don't notice a difference at all until they stop taking it. And then they realize, yeah, you guys both felt that. So they'll take it for a month or something. And they're like, I don't know, I don't really think I feel anything. And then they stop taking it and they go back to the way they were before. But the dramatic stop, the contrast helps them to see how tired they are now and how tired they were before they used the Lifelong Vitality Pack. Mm-hmm. And there's a wide variety of results. Energy, sorry about that. But there's the energy, the pain that we talked about before, skin, hair, those types of things usually take quite a bit longer. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Josh has noticed his fingernails. He's been a hard one. Like, he's supported us getting them, but he'll like take one and then 2 weeks will go by and he'll take another one little pack thing. And it wasn't
hard to remember.
Yeah, it wasn't until he kind of really started making it a habit, and he started doing the cleanse. And the first couple of days, he was definitely like, he was rubbing his stomach and just like, ooh.
Yeah.
But he definitely has been doing much better on it. And he was like, my nails, I have talons. Like,
growing. And then I broke, one nail got ripped off when I was in the Air Force and never grew back right. And so every time it would grow out just a little bit longer, it would split. So I always had to make sure, the thing is so thick and hard now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird thing to notice, but I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. So I have that issue with my fingernail. One of them has this little crease crack, and I've been taking the LLV only for 1, 2, 3. I'm on my 4th week of taking it, and that crack has fixed itself, and my hair is growing much quicker. Mm-hmm. And I did actually skip 3 days in a row, and I was on the struggle bus, and I had a lot of problems. And so, yeah, just taking it that long and missing those 3 days, I saw a huge difference. So
cool. Whenever you get somebody who is just starting the Lifelong Vitality Pack, I often recommend putting an alarm in my phone to remember. That can help to develop the habit if you forget, like Josh.
Yeah, I had been doing really good, and then just those 3 days I was busy, and I grabbed the little sachet pack and put it in my pocket to take with me, and then I just never took it.
Yeah, and you guys all know to start out with a half dose.
Mm-hmm, yep. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so we start people with a half dose, and then after about a week, we move up to a full dose.
I'm still doing the half, but yeah. I'm also taking the DDR prime, though, so I'm like, that's a lot of pills to be taking.
Yeah, and you may find that half is enough for you. It's the dose is based on body weight. So if you look on the bottles, it says for 150 pound, the dose that's on there is for a 150 pound person. We have had many people who basically they took the full dose and full dose, and they said that it gave them too much energy. And so they had to cut it back to a half dose. Other people, we have this one lady who, she wasn't getting the results that everybody else was. So she started to increase it. And I can't remember how many doses she ended up taking in a day. It was something like 3 times what was recommended. But she was a heavier lady. And it was sort of like in the beginning, and as she started to, as her body started to heal itself and get back to where it was supposed to be, she was able to taper off back down again. And I'm not sure what dose she ended up settling on, but just remember that it's based on a 150-pound person, and it's going to vary. So some people may need to reduce, some people may need to increase.
Yeah, that's really, really good to know.
Yeah, so when I went, I started on a half dose, and I was on a half dose for a good 3 months. And then I had to have surgery. And so I boosted it to a full dose for the whole recovery period. And I'm still on the full dose, but I'm feeling like I can taper back down to the half dose now.
Nice.
Kids are checking in from riding their bikes outside. So another question that I get a lot is about taking them during pregnancy as well, like as your prenatal, and then continuing through nursing. And I know that that is a smart thing to do, but I just always kind of just, like Ashley does her research and she can quote things. I'm just like, just do it. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you have learned or that you recommend? And I don't know how many oil babies you have or LLV babies you have. I didn't get to use these products during pregnancy. I found them when my daughter was about 14 to 16 months old. So it was kind of like, I want to have an oil baby just because, but you know, it takes a yes from this one. But the difference, I think that I've experienced, it's hard for me to say because I didn't go through having an LLV oil baby, but that's another question I get a lot, and it's hard to kind of direct them to trust me because my own experience hasn't been there. Is there, how would you help guide us to share with people that are going through that?
Yeah, so there's several ways. One is really incredible, but let's go through the other two first. We have had many OBGYNs say, look at the ingredient list and say, this is far better than the prenatal that I had you on, go ahead and take this instead. Some OBGYNs have not done that. And I can't help but feel they have some kind of attachment, whether financial or mental or whatever, to the prenatals that they are recommending. But you know, it could be just a different learning. So you can take them to your prenatal, your OBGYN, and ask them to look at the ingredients and ask their opinion on it. You can seek out the what's her name? Stephanie Fritz, the Essential Midwife. You know that one? And she's a fantastic resource for all things doTERRA and essential oil for pregnancy. And she's also got a book called, I think it's called Essential Oils for Birth, Baby, and Beyond, or something like that. But as far as anecdotal evidence, my wife went through postpartum depression really severe. And she didn't start coming up out of it until we doubled her omega-3 intake. So we doubled her Z omegas, and that was the thing that finally started to bring her up out of it. So remember, with postpartum depression, what happens is the body is taking all the brain food that it was meant for your brain, and it's giving it to creating a new brain instead. And so it steals all of your brain food. So when we doubled her omega-3 intake.
Why are you laughing at that? Is it because he kept finding the keys in the microwave and then just random weird things? I I had short-term memory loss, I think, because I'd be like, hey, did you do this? And he'd answer the question. And then like 10 minutes later, I'd be like, hey, did you do this? And he's like, yes, I just told you that. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I can get that. My brain did not work very well. I don't know if I ever fully got it back, though. I thought I was supposed
Yes, you
to.
did. You're smart.
Double your omega-3s, you'll be fine.
Okay. Okay, continue. Sorry.
That's right. So anyway, we doubled her omega-3 intake, and that's what finally brought her up out of the postpartum depression. And then on the next pregnancy, we doubled the omega-3s during the pregnancy, and she never went back down into that pit again. I believe that that's part of why the Lifelong Vitality Pack is so incredible for depression in general. I think that it's so vital to have the nutrition that your brain needs, and that's why it makes such an impact when we help people with Lifelong Vitality Pack, because they're finally getting that brain food again.
Awesome. Thank you. That's important. I know Ashley has a lot of personal experience as well as research that she's done, because she suffered greatly as well. And so she's a huge advocate for talking about those things, because a lot of women feel shame and guilt, and so then they don't talk about it. And so I think that's a huge part of being able to share that. I suffered on the weird side of it, like less on the anger, less about the just the lowness. I just suffered from really severe emotional things, like the sun would rise and I was like, it's so beautiful, and I would just start crying. But it didn't alter my day or didn't alter my state of mind. I just was the weirdest, like a commercial could make me just, be really emotional. So for me, it was, I needed more, but it wasn't as a scary process to go through. So, but I want to be able to arm people, because it's not as talked about. So.
No. I've had several new mamas. I spoke out quite a bit about my issues with my son, because not only did I have postpartum depression, but I had the postpartum anxiety rage portion of it. So I literally had thoughts of harming my child, because I was just so mad at the world, like for no reason. Like, he wasn't crying, there was nothing going on. It was just literally my hormones were so messed up and my brain couldn't function.
Yeah.
And so I spoke about my experiences with all of my friends who didn't have babies at the time or weren't pregnant. And they looked at me like, you're absolutely crazy. Like, you're nuts. I was like, yep, I sure am. So I'm like, but I'm telling you this, so if you in the future go through this and you're nuts, like, you know what's going on. And then come to find out, I had one mom get pregnant 2 years later, go through the same exact thing. And I was able to at least help guide her to get what she needed.
But how stigmatizing is that too? Because like you said, it's not talked about. And so you talk about it and people say you're nuts instead of helping you get the help that you need.
That's exactly it. It's awful. And so I've definitely made it one of my missions to help people learn that it's nothing that you can control. It's out of your control, other than the fact that you can give your body the vitamins and supplements that it craves.
And it's okay to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Nothing to call you nuts.
Right. Last thing I'm going to tell you.
And then interactions is another question I get. And I do have a couple of links from studies that have been done, like when they talk about using essential oils in general or taking the LLV. Does it interact with your medications that you're currently taking? I've actually been really excited in the recent weeks where I had a gal start the LLV and she had a liver transplant. And I just said, take this pamphlet, and I gave her the booklet of the LLV. I said, just take it to your doctor. I know that you can't even go in and see him. He'll come out to your car, and you guys are wearing all these masks and stuff. And she's not allowed to take anything because of why she had a liver transplant. And if she takes something that is not approved and her body rejects the liver, she won't be on the recipient list. They'll say you're SOL. So I told her, don't take anything until you take this in. He read through the whole thing and gave her the A++, go for LLV, and let me know how it goes. But I was wondering, like, how some doctors give it, they're open, like you said, and some aren't. Is there any sort of research available for us common, the layman, that can support that if someone is either scared to talk to their doctor or they want to do their own research first for that you can take it with blood pressure, cholesterol, or if you're diabetic, you can take LLV and use oils and still maintain your regimen. And then I always tell people, take your blood, have your doctor take your blood, and then start your protocol, do everything the same, and watch your numbers improve and watch them have to down your dosages as you heal.
Yeah. There's a wide variety of research out there. And the problem is some of it is it's on like for instance, if there's a research on an essential oil that says it interacts with this medication, it is often the situation that it was the impurities in the oil or the additives, and when you find a second study that was done on a pure oil, it didn't have the same result. So it's a little bit difficult to find the right studies. They're going to, if they're just hardcore against essential oils or whatever, they're going to present studies or just not support their opinion that you shouldn't use them. Essentially, like grapefruit oil is a good, for instance. A lot of doctors will say you can't use grapefruit oil because if you are on heart medication, because grapefruit is well known to interact with heart medication. And it turns out that the compound in grapefruit that interacts with heart medication is called naringin, and it is found in the fruit, not the rind. So there is no naringin in the oil because it's from the rind. So you can go through that process with your doctor, and if they are willing to listen and research and things like that, then that's great. If they're not, then it's always wise to get multiple opinions from multiple doctors.
Okay.
And consider the source too. Look at are they open to, if they're not open to this natural thing because of this interaction problem, are they open to other natural things? Because if they're open to other natural things, that means, that gives me a sense of their character and says, okay, well, maybe they'd be willing to hear, other research on this particular item.
Okay. I like that. I think I had only those 4 main questions, and then the absorption one Shelley asked. That was all I had written down beforehand. So the yeast part, that was all super new to me and super exciting.
Yeah, that's actually on the doTERRA website, but you're not going to recognize it because I put it into little layman's terms.
Okay.
So you have to look at it from a scientific perspective to recognize what you're saying there.
Very cool, but we can read about it online. Okay.
Do you have any information on magnesium in LLV?
On which?
Magnesium?
Not a lot. There is magnesium in the LLV. A lot of people, Alicia, for instance, you guys know Alicia. She takes a lot of magnesium aside from what's in the LLV because it's basically not enough. So magnesium is something that we're just really deficient on, and we need a lot more of it than is in the LLV. But yeah, so I don't have a lot of information on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the way that, like you were talking about, the way our food is now, we are just so deficient from the start.
Yeah.
Food is not grown in soil that is nutrient dense, and so we would have to consume insane amounts of food just to get a normal amount of the vitamin mineral count that you need on a daily basis. So
Yeah. That's discouraging too, because when you think about it from a generational standpoint, there's a study done called Pottinger's. I think it was Pottinger's cats. Have you heard of that? Okay, so Pottinger's cats. They were doing some studies on cats, and I don't remember what the purpose was, but they discovered something totally different than from their purpose. So they had these cats, and they were feeding these cats. Can't remember what they were feeding them. It was something that was not. It was like something that was not their regular diet, right? And with generation of these cats, they got worse and worse. They got mood problems and body problems. They started to become sterile. By the fourth generation, they were completely sterile. And what?
I muted Ashley real quick.
Oh, okay.
And she just realized it. It's okay.
So they started to have a problem with their food source, and they went to a local butcher and just got scrap meat from the butcher and started to feed the cats that. And even this fourth generation started having kittens again. Every generation of these cats, all of the problems that they had began to correct themselves. So, we look at we're basically living in a society that is in the fourth generation of our industrialized food system, deficient of all this nutrition. And you look at the problems that are rampant in our hospital systems. But when you start to correct the nutrition, even the latest generation, all these things begin to correct themselves. So that gives us hope.
It does.
But that's a pretty cool study. Look it up. I'm pretty positive it's Pottinger's cats.
Okay. That is really cool. And the depression part for me of LLV was probably one of the most powerful, because I did try to get on every vitamin bandwagon there was, from using some really, really expensive ones from Nutrilite and Juice Plus, and really trying to do whole food and all that. But I never felt any different, and I hate swallowing pills. So it just was like, why bother? Like, it was just mind over matter, trying to do the right thing for my body. I didn't want to have health problems like I see, my grandparents were going through, and I knew it was inevitable because they were healthy, but they still suffer. And
Yeah.
so I just was like, I got to do something a little different. And it was LLV. After the 30-day, I got it for free. It was one of the big promos that doTERRA had, where they actually gave us an LLV pack as the free product of the month, because otherwise I would have never bought it, because I just hated taking anything. And I didn't buy any other supplements until the LLV, and then and Tri-Ease. I had a 7-day trial of Tri-Ease. So yeah. The depression piece spoke to me, because for me, I didn't really pay attention to how bad I felt. I just muscled through every single day. And I'm naturally a really chipper, happy, joyful person. And right around like 19 is when I started to feel the change. And I went to the doctor looking for them to say, oh, you have a thyroid problem, or, oh, I wanted them to give me a label so I could work to feel better. And that's when they said, we think you're suffering from depression. And they gave me a couple sheets of paper with medication on it. And I never felt them. I was like, I'm not going to go down that path. I can fix this myself. And spent a long time trying and muscling through. LLV 30-day trial. I didn't really feel any different until I stopped taking them. And then it was like what has happened to my ability to regulate? And so we still feel that, because there are times where you forget. You move your regiment to another place of the house, or you run out and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm out. I have to wait 5 days. And then you're like, why am I struggle busing so hard? So our bodies really do need the support these days, because the food we have and the world we live in just doesn't support us the way we need it to.
Yeah.
So awesome. Does anyone else have any other questions, Shelly or Ashley?
Do you still have trouble taking your vitamins, like physically?
I do. I use a chia seed pudding now. I used to use applesauce, but I have a hard time. Although I will say this, I am able, like if I don't, it's all mental. So if I don't think about it, I can do a quarter dose with water. So I'll take 1, 2, 3, and then I take my Terrazyme. I take Terrazyme without. I can just take one of those with water real fast. I can take Adaptive real fast. All the soft gels I can take without it. But if I'm doing like a very dedicated, intentional dose of thinking about where I am at, and I go, okay, I need enzyme, I take LLV. I'm going to take deep blue turmeric and copaiba because I'm suffering pain-wise. I'm going to take this, and then I have a handful. I mean, I start sweating. I start having all this, like, I even have like an adrenaline rush, and my ears will start to ring because I'm just like, oh. So if I go really slow and I just take 1 or 2 here and there, I'm fine. But it is, yeah, my whole life it's just been hard. I think I'm afraid to choke is really what it comes down to.
Yeah. So as you come across other people who have difficulty swallowing pills, a lot of people have had great success with basically learning the way that their throat is designed. Some people, do this thing when they try to take their vitamins, and it puts a kink in it, and it makes it really hard to swallow anything. If you try to eat a steak, you go like this, and you're eating a steak, you're gonna have a really hard time swallowing.
Right.
So if you just stay the way that your body is designed and you swallow it, it's far easier. Also, when you do this, and you use, especially if you're using water, the vitamins try to kind of float to the top, and so you have to force your muscles to get it down. But when you do it just like this, the water is pooling in the back, and it goes down the way it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. I've done it a couple of times, like you know how like you dial a phone number and then you decide to take a drink or something. It's like you're not really thinking, it's automatic, and then they're like, hello, and you're like, I've done that before, right when I put some of the vitamins in my mouth, and so I have no choice but to just swallow, and I don't think about it.
Yeah.
It's fine. But sometimes that's backfired too, and then I like have to put the phone down because I'm coughing and I'm having a little. But yeah, I try to encourage people because I'm like, you won't find anyone with more of a pill phobia than me. I think I am probably the worst one I've ever met so far. I chew my food like till it's decimated. Like it's just a choking fear. Even still, I don't let my kids eat without people present because I'm afraid they're going to choke. So
yeah,
it's kind of silly, but it's definitely mental. There's not much that practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're overcoming it. That's great.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of good that comes. I will take the LLV till I choke on it, I guess, because I know how good it is for us and it works.
Yeah.
The other thing I've noticed too is I have what they call slipping rib syndrome, SRS, and there's really no way of getting healed from it. It just kind of is time and learning what you can and can't do. And as I have now started to increase my LLV, so I am taking a higher than full dose at times, along with the turmeric, deep blue, and copaiba. And when I was reading and trying to study a little bit more about how the natural inflammatory response works in the body and these different things, I was very intrigued by them talking about how your natural healing ability is improved when you're taking it. So for those that suffer from chronic like back pain or really bad injuries, I was wondering if, like, kind of like that other gal that you were describing, she increased her dose until she kind of came back down. I stay on a good, healthy, regular full dose. And then once a month, I for sure will go up because I'm really anemic. And so during my cycle, I need more support, a lot more support. I get really lightheaded and weak. So I take more. And now I'm noticing that when I'm having the rib pain, I'll take more along with migraines because of the back and neck condition that I have. And it definitely helps with my pain. So it's, that's been the hardest thing, because a lot of people naturally just want to go to a painkiller or something that'll just work like that. Whereas I've worked for about 2 years now working on getting my body right. But now I tell people, like, the first time my ribs went out, the very first time it happened, I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack. I couldn't breathe. And I literally I was like screaming for help because it was hurting so badly. And now I can tell when one slips and I know what to do, and I just go nice and slow. And then I, of course, get to my chiropractor, and I asked him to teach him how to put it back in place for me. He's not allowed to do that. So I was kind of bummed about that. But the ability with a chronic condition that you have to kind of accept for the rest of your life, I think that's the part that I want people to know that there's hope. It does take patience, consistency, and time, but the beauty and the lifelong vitality allows the body to actually start to heal more naturally. My ribs used to slip out every day. I would go and get adjusted, and then I'd go sit in my car, and I was scared to put my seatbelt on. If I reached too far this way, it was bad. And if I went this way, I was just too scared. And I didn't want to drive and like turn and look over my shoulder. Like I didn't want to move. And now it's not even slipping as much. So that's the cool part. I'm going almost 3 weeks without one slipping out. So, I mean, who knows, I might be able to reverse my side effects altogether and get to that point where it's not there. But that chronic pain that people feel and go through, at the beginning, I felt very hopeless because I thought, if this is the rest of my life, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a mom and be active, and I don't know how to live like this. And
what is it that causes the SRS?
It was ultimately what they kind of diagnosed it was from my core strength was really poor post-birth. So after the second pregnancy, my stomach muscles never came back together. And so with my core strength being so poor, my back was overworking, covering both. And the back muscles tightened up so much and so bad, the muscles are what caused all the ribs to pop out. So I did acupuncture for like 6 months straight, where they were targeting those muscles, trying to release them. But they're like, even deep tissue massage couldn't get to those muscles because there was too many layers. Yeah. And so now I go in still for deep tissue and physical therapy, and they're able to really get in there and get to them. But it basically, they said I have to work on strengthening the core muscles, and because they're equal and opposite, right? So when your stomach muscles are working, your back is relaxed, and vice versa, kind of like your calves and your shins.
Yeah.
So physical therapy and my abs and my core and my stomach to correct the separation, and it was a really bad separation. So, and I think a lot of people that have chronic back pain is a lot of the times caused by a weak core, and other muscles like your hamstrings and your legs are way too tight. So if you can eliminate and strengthen the core and help to loosen the muscles back here, your back won't hurt so badly. And that's not always the case, but I have found that that is some of the root causes of back pain that goes undiagnosed when you just have these horrible back pain. So,
yeah.
But the SRS is kind of it's a newer syndrome that they're calling it. And it's when they just keep coming out of alignment, and it basically hits a nerve and it goes into the nerve channel, which is why it's so painful. And then it's just hard to take a deep breath. So you can't, it's very, very restrictive on your respiratory system. But other than that, there's no, I mean, other than pain and hard difficulty breathing, there's no, like it's not gonna cause anything for harm, I guess.
Who needs to breathe? Breathing's overrated.
Exactly. So, but yeah, those are the types of things though now that I'm really curious about, because I feel like ever since I have been far more intentional that I am buying myself more time before, and I'm actually able to start exercising again. I'm able to, I've started running, and I just have to maintain, I have to think a lot harder about my muscles. And so push-ups are still really hard for me because that engages everything in the back, and I'm nervous about engaging those muscles and tightening them up. So it's a lot of thought that goes into it, but it's working as long as you, because I think if you think about the muscle, it tends to engage more. So I think about my core all the time and try to like hold it in and then relax the shoulders, relax the back. So
You do any yoga?
I have started doing yoga. I'm not very good at it because I have a hard time sitting still.
Yeah. Where do you live?
Seattle, or South Seattle in Auburn.
Okay. Let's see. I can't remember the name of it. There's a specific type of yoga. I'll find out and I'll send it to you, text it to you. This type of yoga was really instrumental at strengthening my core and eliminating my back pain. Also helped me to overcome a shoulder injury that I had tried all kinds of different physical therapists and chiropractic care and all kinds of things, and nothing ever helped. And this yoga was really incredible for it. And she really, the teacher that I was working with really emphasizes it's less about the traditional style and poses and forms and stuff like that, but it's more about the strengthening the muscles that you will be using on an everyday basis. If you're going to do a pose for her, it's got to be something where, you know, you're going to be using those muscles, picking up groceries or slipping on the ice or, you know, whatever. And it was really incredible for the core. So just isolating the core down to each muscle of the core, like the psoas and the, you know, just each individual muscle. She was really good at that. So might be really beneficial for that.
Okay, I'd love to take a look at it. Yeah, the shoulder injury that you're talking about, we were in a car accident in December, and I really hurt the shoulder. So I've been doing all sorts of things trying to. This is the best it's felt yet, but they said it was a AC joint rotator cuff kind of a, and it just even hurt. Like I would try to make it hurt and I couldn't, but if my water bottle wasn't fully on the table and it was just about to fall off and I reached for it, like that automatic response of a lunge, it would be throbbing. Or I can't walk the dog and hold the leash because if she jerks me, it's, you know. And so now, so I know exactly what you mean. I'm doing the yoga and I only hold I don't even have weights yet. I'm holding candles.
Yeah.
and there's a couple that are still pretty hard for me. So I will just do air, my pretend weights, but it's definitely the shoulder has gotten quite a bit better. And then my core has a lot of work to still do. I'm still working on it, but I can fit, it used to be 4 fingers of width in between those stomach muscles. And now it's down to like 1.
Wow.
So I can feel that they're really coming back together, but oh my goodness, it's so much work. Yeah. I wish it could just be like that, but no. So
Then you wouldn't appreciate it.
that's true. Well, and I wouldn't be able to tell people that you really have to be patient. It's not an overnight fix,
Yeah.
even though I really wish it would be. So, because yeah, this is the longest I've gone without a rib out. He checked it actually on Tuesday, and I didn't have one. This is my first appointment that he has not put my ribs back in place. So
Yeah, it's been a little while.
mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, I got about 20 minutes before my next Zoom calls, so I better let you ladies go. Thanks for letting me chat with you today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for being a resource for us.
Anytime. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Okay. Bye.